guys, welcome back. Today is day 6 and it's the second day of solving multi-step equations. So last class we talked about equations that had one solution. Well, equations don't always have one solution. What I mean by that is, so last class we talked about getting an answer. Say you had 2x plus 3 is equal to 11, and you subtracted 3 and you got 2x is equal to 8, and then when you divided by 2 you ended up with x is equal to 4. So that was your one answer, okay? So that we're not going to always have one solution. If you solve an equation and you get a true statement, and this will make sense in a minute, okay, then the solution is considered all real numbers. Okay, and we use a special symbol for all real numbers. You might see it every now and then. It looks like an R, but it has 2 lines. Okay, so that's all real numbers. And what I mean by a true statement is if I have something like this, it ends with 5 equals 5. Well, we know that 5 equals 5, so we say that's true. Okay, but when you solve an equation and you get a false statement, excuse me, the solution is no solution. Right? And that can also be represented with what we call the null set. All right, looks like that. Okay, and what I mean by being false, say you ended with 5 equals 6. Well, we know that 5 does not equal 6, so that's a false statement. Okay, so some examples of these. All right, we're going to still use our DCMAM, the acronym, to help us with remembering the order of the steps. And we're going to also remember the golden rule of algebra. Whatever we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other. So here we have 2 equations that are set equal to each other. And notice this time we don't have an x variable, we have a y variable, and that's okay. Okay, last class we worked a lot with x's. We can have y's, we can have m's, we can have b's. Okay, it doesn't matter. All right, so 12y plus 6 in this case is going to be equal to, notice what happens when we distribute. 6 times 2y is 12y, and 6 times 1 is a positive 6. Okay, so we can't combine any like terms. We can move the variable though. So let's subtract 12y from both sides. And this is important that I actually write out 12y, not just 12, because 12y minus 12y is 0, okay, on both sides. Look at what we end with. We end with 6 equals 6. That's a true statement. That means our answer is all real numbers. And what does that mean? It means that y could be any value. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4, it could be 5, okay? So what it's actually saying is, and we'll get into this a little later, is these are actually 2 lines, the 2 equations, and they're actually right on top of each other. They're the same line. So the intersecting point is every point, okay? So it's all real numbers. All right, so if we looked at number 2 and we distributed, we would get 5 plus 20m is equal to 6 plus 20m. Okay, remember we distribute like that. Okay, and then when we subtract the 20m from both sides, we end up with 5 equals 6. Well, that's a false statement. So here we know we have no solution. All right, so I can write it out like that, or I could have the null set. Okay, here I could have written all real numbers. All right, so that's the difference. If it's true, it's all real numbers. If it's false, it's no solution. All right, so if you want right now, you can actually stop the video and you can try number 3. Okay, when you're finished, come back and check it. I'll just continue on. This is 6x plus 42. Okay, we distributed first, equals 6x plus 84. Okay, so when I subtract my 6x from both sides, got a little bit of a smudge there. Let's get rid of that. Okay, we're going to subtract 6x from both sides. Okay, again, they both cancel out. We're left with 42 equals 84. Now, that's a false statement. So, this would be no solution. All right, let's try number 4. We distribute. We get 12x minus 6 equals negative 6 plus 4x. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit different. All right, now I'm going to move the variable. Okay, can't combine any like terms. So we end up with 8x minus 6 is equal to negative 6. Now when I add 6 to both sides, I get 8x is equal to 0. And that's okay, all right? Because when I divide by 8, x is actually going to be equal to 0. All right, and that's an answer. 0 is a number. if we plugged it back in and did the check step, it would actually work, okay? All right, so the other part of the lesson was solving proportions. And if we want to solve an equation that's set up like a proportion, we will cross multiply. All right, so you guys did a little bit of this last year with one-step equations. So number 5 is an example of what you should kind of remember from last year. So to cross multiply, we take the numerator of one of the fractions times the denominator of the other. In this case, 23 times 4. And we set it equal to 2 times s. Okay, we're going to multiply the denominator times the numerator. And it doesn't matter the order. I put the number in front of the variable because it's a coefficient. Okay, when we multiply out, you get 92 is equal to 2s, and then we just divide by 2. We're just solving the equation. So 46 is equal to s, and again, I like to put my variable on the left. S is 46. Okay, number 6, all right, now it's going to be a little bit different because now we're going to have to distribute. Watch what happens. M plus 3, you should really put it in parentheses, so that when you cross multiply, you're going to take 64 times m plus 3, and that's going to be equal to 8 times 40. Okay, so I just multiplied this, and I multiplied this. Okay, that's really the only additional step that we're adding today, and that's different from what we did yesterday. So now when we distribute, we're going back to what we did yesterday. We distribute 64m plus 192 equals 320. All right, we're going to subtract the constant, negative 192. When we do that, we get 64m is equal to 128. Then we divide by 64, and our m is equal to 2. All right, so to do the check step for proportions, you could put the number back in and just make sure that they're equivalent fractions. Okay, so in this case, it would be 23 halves is equal to 46 over 4. Okay, and then if you simplified them both, they would be equal to each other. Okay, all right, so the last two that we have, 7 and 8, all right, we're going to take 11 times c minus 8, and we're going to set that equal to negative 2 times 11 minus 4c. Okay, so here's our cross multiplying. Okay, and again, it doesn't matter. I could have set it up like this, where I took the negative 2 times 11 minus 4c is equal to 11 times c minus 8. It doesn't matter, okay, what diagonal you do first. Okay, so with number 7, when I did this, I'm going to distribute, I'll just do this one here. I get a negative 22 plus 8c is equal to 11c minus 88. So I just distributed both the 2 and the 11. I'm going to move the variable. So I'm going to take the 11c and move it to the other side. When I do that, I have the negative 22 comes down, minus 3c, because 8 minus 11 is a negative 3, and that's going to be equal to negative 88. When I add my 22, I get negative 3c equals negative 66. And then I divide my final step, and my c is going to be equal to negative divided by negative is a positive. So we get c is 22. Okay, so I would suggest right now probably pausing the video and trying number 8 on your own, and I will go forward and show it to you. Okay, so come on back as soon as you're done doing it. All right, I'm going to set it up, and it's 7 times x plus 7. All right, I'm going to multiply, negative 343, and now I distribute. Okay, so this is 7x plus 49. All right, I'm going to subtract 49 from both sides. Oh, I made a mistake in here. Sorry, guys. Going back. Got ahead of myself. Oops. 6 times 49 is actually negative 294. There we go. Now when I subtract 49 from both sides, okay, I'm going to get negative 343. And that's going to be equal to 7x. My final step here would just be to divide by 7. So negative 49 is equal to x, or I can write it as x is equal to negative 49. Okay. All right, so all we did today was add on all real numbers and no solutions for solving equations, and then we did some proportions. Okay, hope this helped, guys. All right, bye-bye.